Hi there, I'm Rebecca, and I will be presenting today on a community engaged research initiative as an example and thinking about the practices that come with community engaged scholarship that I learned through the process of working in this particular project. So I'm going to talk about the Teacher Education Collaborative in Language Diversity and Arts Integration. I work in the College of Education, and so a big priority for us is to place future teachers in schools to do a practicum, traditional student teaching situation. Nationally that model looks the same. Teachers do their coursework at a university, they get plunked into a school for a semester, a year, maybe 3 semesters, and then they get hired somewhere. There's not extensive necessarily relationships within schools. So some years ago, a group of us from within the college, in an effort to address multiple challenges with placing future teachers, we kind of started meeting to brainstorm to think, how can we do things better for our future, for the children really, because we need to do a better job preparing teachers to work in diverse environments. At the same time, we started to hear from several schools that we were working with consistently individually that maybe we should all consolidate our individual projects and do something more systematically within those schools. So as a group, there were 8 faculty members of us working individually that came together with very different kind of backgrounds in education and commitments. And we started to think about what we could do within that school. But because the school had asked us to do something different, we started there. On the left are just some general insights that have served us well in the work. And the first has to do with the relationship piece that everyone here is talking about. So because we each had these individual relationships and there were so many of us doing individual things, we had to consolidate and build relationships first with each other, with our UNM team, and then think about how are we going to work within the school, with the school leadership. It was a community school. And so there was a lot of initial work that happened for a long time before we actually placed future teachers at the school site. So for us, we had a lot of different entities involved. We had UNM, we had the school itself who works within a district. We had the teachers at that school who needed to agree to host us. And then there was this group of, our faculty from 3 different departments and eventually 2 colleges and the university. And then there was the community itself that we were going to work with. So it was a lot of groups, and it took a lot of time, that's been mentioned, just getting to understand ourselves what the community's vision was for the project and what our own, how could we or could we not meet the needs that they were asking. So our purpose ultimately was to prepare teachers. The school identified need was to focus on language development. It was a bilingual, multilingual community. So the school operated as a bilingual school, English-Spanish, but because of its place in town, it was serving students in multiple other languages in an English as a second language format. So they said that was their priority there, and they wanted us to prepare teachers who were gaining experience to serve a linguistically diverse student body. In the back of our minds, we were also thinking about teacher attrition, because that is a huge issue in our field. Teachers often in these short-term semester-based experiences persist in the profession for 1 to 3 years. So we were thinking if we can prepare a teacher to serve for longer than that, that's kind of a background goal we had on our side of the team. One of the things that became evident as we worked as a faculty team was that we all had some side interests in the arts. One faculty member is a musician locally, another person was a visual artist. I have dabbled in some writing, creative writing, and so we all were thinking about maybe arts is one way to leverage our experience and support language learning through arts integration. So we started talking with the teachers. They had, like most schools, experienced a significant decrease in funding toward the arts, so they thought this might also be a way to expose the children of the school to arts through this kind of project that we were all envisioning together. So a big lesson for us was to engage with complexity, and that has to do with the amount of stakeholders, people with varying interests, mandates the school has from the state and others, mandates UNM has related to teacher preparation, and we had all of these individuals working on it. So one of our initial challenges, and this challenge persisted through the life of the program, was getting people to understand the project. And that understanding, the difficulty to understand started in our own college, and we're very experienced preparing teachers, but we kept getting the thing, well, what do you mean it takes this many faculty members? What do you mean it takes, this many hours of professional development for the teachers? It was really challenging. So, we often got the question, can you tell us in one page what you're doing? This was the best we could ever really get, with part of it thinking about our school sites, the staff we needed, the faculty we needed, and also, as this was unfolding, we had the very significant court case in the state of New Mexico with the Martinez-Yazzie case and the ruling going through the courts, and thinking, does this project address some of the legal ruling of that case? And so in this process of engaging with complexity, everybody involved, those at the school, our families, community members, faculty, we had to get equipped to think about how to defend our project, how to even explain our project, and to continually express what our values were with this project, because it was different enough from anything else we were doing in college. Throughout the collaboration, some key things that we tried to work in, what we liked to engage in consistent dialogue. The photo on the left, that's a group of our pre-service teachers working with some in-service teachers at the school, thinking about what does the curriculum look like through a cascade effect. We teach the curriculum to our UNM students. The teachers were working on learning some of the strategies we were going to do, all with the hope of doing really meaningful curricular development for the children of the school community. So the dialogue was very important, opportunities for refinement and flexible and responsive approaches. The school told us one of the things they wanted was they wanted events. They wanted to bring the families in, and they wanted to see arts events for families because of this collaboration. So one of our big curricular focus areas was a project called Bring a Book to Life. And with that project, every classroom read pieces of literature around a theme, and then they created a performing arts experience based on the books, and they also created a permanent art installation based on the books. The books we chose in the year I'm highlighting were all related to migration. So all types of migration stories, from animal migration to human migration, it was on the minds of the school. Flexible and responsive approaches. As it came time to install the mural about all of these books on migration, it was going to have a title of Migration. This was around the 2016 election cycle, and the school said, we're sorry, we can't call this Migration. It's too triggering for the families at this school. Change the name. We can't have the first thing that people see when they come in here be called that. So we changed it to Journeys to respond to the school's request, right? So again, and the children of the school, it was kind of interesting to hear them talk about the mural, because they called it the original name, even though it had this new name. So in the process, I guess one of the big lessons I thought I would just land on has to do with just institutional considerations, because for us, that was always a really significant challenge, was navigating the different institutions that were participating together. One of the things had to do with funding. Our model was very expensive. It was expensive because it took a lot of faculty time to be there, and we needed materials to support the arts initiatives at the school. It's not necessarily like the school had the existing budget to do the types of art we wanted to do. When we were making the mural, for example, they didn't just have clay, they didn't have a lot of the materials in the school to do this work. So we had to try to find external funding to support the arts initiatives. Sustainability, because of the cost, did become an issue for us. And the third was, the leadership support. It took a lot of different leaders to agree to keep the project going. We had to have UNM leaders in agreement. We had to have APS district leaders, but then we had to have the school leaders. And as turnover and transition happened anywhere in there, it always meant the project was in jeopardy a little bit. And that did lead to the need for some graceful departures. There did come a time when it was no longer feasible to continue based on some leadership changes. And so as a faculty group, we were kind of left with this big idea: how do we now exit the school that has come to love the collaboration? And how do we do it in a way that feels ethical, that feels responsible? And that came through thinking about continued ways to engage. And incidentally, for this particular project, what it's meant is the faculty continue to work with the schools, but we've all kind of gone back to our original, we do different types of things based on our expertise for and with the schools that we were working with. So while we don't have this consolidated focused project as a group, we stay there, they call us, we need this, we show up. Some of us have our routine, regular things that we do with particular teachers in classrooms so that we can sustain the trust. So it hasn't been easy to keep the work going, but I think that's, as a faculty member, for me, doing the community engaged work, it's a non-negotiable. So I'm going to do it whether I have institutional constraints or not. And so I think that's because it's part of my own commitment to thinking about myself as who I am, what I bring. It is working with community. And so, but the constraints and considerations are real, and they are time consuming to navigate, but I do think that it's worth it. And so I leave you with the profound question that the children asked after they had read a story of migration related to the Underground Railroad, and they had to come up with a big, takeaway. And their takeaway question is, what would you do for freedom? And I think that when you do important work with communities, the big questions remain and they are activated, and we can think about them long after the life of a project.